The film opens in a military research facility, where a lieutenant is performing her routine check on the military satellites. Suddenly, she notices unusually large waves emanating from the sun and heading towards Earth. A view from space shows us the waves destroying every satellite on its way. Initially, the lieutenant suspects a glitch in her computer system and reports the anomaly to her captain. However, she is instructed to disregard any irregularities for the next 24 hours. This directive raises her suspicions, and she becomes convinced that these waves are a cause for concern. Next, the story introduces us to Arman, who leads a modest life as a scuba diving instructor and submarine engineer, residing along a Turkish coastline. One day, his former girlfriend, Victoria, a marine biologist, approaches him. She's organizing a deep-sea expedition to the Incirlik Air Base and has assembled a 5-person team, securing sponsorship for the venture. However, she requires a submarine and someone to lead the team. Arman initially declines the offer upon discovering that the financial backer is his estranged millionaire father, whom he hates. The day following Victoria's visit, Arman, driven by a desire to defy his father, swiftly decides to participate in the expedition. He heads over to Victoria's to share his decision, only to be greeted by a man at the door. Mistakenly thinking he's at the wrong place, Arman soon learns that the man is Victoria's fiancé, Freddie, who will be part of the mission, managing technical aspects from the ship. Arman feels uneasy working with the man but doesn't show it on his face. Elsewhere, the soldier who witnessed the ominous waves earlier grows increasingly worried and reaches out to her mother. Urgently, she advises her entire family to seek shelter underground, warning them of an impending disaster at sunrise. Just as she ends the call, 2 soldiers forcefully enter her home. However, she cleverly outsmarts them and makes a quick escape in their vehicle. The scene shifts to the evening the submarine project commences. The team includes Felix, a foreigner, Benson, Arman's closest friend, and Rana, a university student. Filled with excitement, the 5 crew members, along with Freddie and the ship's captain, embark on their journey. As they arrive at the airbase located in the ocean's midst, Freddie and Victoria exchange farewells before the quintet boards the submarine. Just then, the ship's captain pulls Victoria aside to inform her of unusual events unfolding in East Asia, coinciding with the sunrise. Despite this, they dismiss any potential impact on their mission and begin their descent. The journey proceeds smoothly for the majority of the trip, with the crew submerged for over 12 hours. However, Arman suddenly observes an unusual brightness in the ocean, despite being in the aphotic zone where sunlight doesn't penetrate. Deciding to investigate, he steers the submarine towards the surface, cutting the expedition short. After several hours, they emerge, only to discover they've lost communication with the ship's crew. Arman's attempts to shout and signal them prove futile. Left with no alternative, Felix navigates the submarine closer to the ship, allowing Arman to climb aboard using a rope. He and Victoria are the first to board, only to find, after a thorough search, that the ship's crew, including Freddie, has mysteriously abandoned them in the middle of the ocean. Inside the control room, they stumble upon a video message from Freddie, revealing the crisis at hand. In a panicked tone, Freddie informs Victoria that the sunrise is lethally affecting people globally. He reveals that almost the entire population of Asia has perished, with the death toll rising by the second. He explains that he and the rest of the crew are heading to a bunker on a nearby island, a place shielded from the deadly sunlight. Arman and Victoria quickly gather supplies and head back to the submarine, not losing a moment. Once the crew is briefed on the unfolding catastrophe, they set a course for the nearest island, where the safe bunker is located. Upon reaching the shore, they are docking the submarine when suddenly a massive submarine surfaces just meters away. The crew is struck with awe as they watch a group of soldiers disembark. The captain of this new group meets with Arman and learns about the global crisis. With no one visible outside, they surmise that the survivors must be in the bunker. Deciding to unite their efforts, the 2 groups agree to collaborate in unraveling the mystery of the situation. Victoria's satellite phone suddenly buzzes with an incoming message. It's a video showing Freddie racing towards the bunker, with scenes of chaos in the background as hundreds of people are seen embracing their loved ones in panic. Prompted by this, the soldiers split into teams to scour the city for any survivors. Accompanied by Arman and Victoria, the commander sets out in search of the bunker. As they venture into denser population areas, a grim sight unfolds before them. Streets lined with lifeless bodies, each showing no external injuries except for charred tongues, suggesting a gruesome internal combustion as the cause of death. Tracing the trail of bodies, they arrive at a church, now a silent witness to more tragic scenes of people who perished while clutching their loved ones or in prayer. Just as despair begins to grip Victoria, fearing for her fiancé's fate, a soldier approaches the commander with news. They've found a man in a bank, possibly a survivor. The group discovers that a man had survived by locking himself inside a bank safe. Tragically, his internal organs are severely damaged, indicating he won't live much longer. Arman questions him about the bunker's location, but the man's response is unclear and unhelpful. In a merciful act, the commander ends the man's suffering with a gunshot. After a brief discussion with the chief, they decide to return to the submarine within 30 minutes. This leaves Arman and Victoria with a narrow window to find Freddy or risk being left behind. Victoria suddenly recognizes the place in the video Freddy sent her and drives to the bunker with Arman. Meanwhile, inside the bank, several soldiers begin to hastily grab stacks of cash. Their actions are interrupted by the chief engineer, who enters the safe alongside them. Unexpectedly, the safe's door slams shut and locks automatically. Outside, a soldier named Altan attempts to rescue them, but without the combination to the safe, their fate is sealed. With a heavy heart, Altan is forced to abandon his comrades and head back to the submarine. This incident fuels a deep resentment in Altan towards Arman and his team, as he holds them responsible for his friend's tragic end. At the dock, Rana's phone suddenly picks up a signal, leading her to a news report detailing the unfolding crisis. The article discusses how the sun's polarization shifts direction every 11 years, noting that the intensity of these shifts has been diminishing over recent cycles. However, it suggests that the latest shift may have triggered a massive release of energy, potent enough to be lethal to humans and other life forms on Earth. Rana notices that the article is peppered with complex jargon and unclear phrasing, leading her to surmise that it was hastily written, possibly in the midst of the escalating emergency. Eventually, Arman and Victoria make it to the bunker, rushing inside with high hopes. However, they are met with a grim scene. Despite the bunker's thick walls, it wasn't enough to protect the people inside. The sight of numerous bodies strewn across the floor unnerves Victoria. She anxiously searches until her worst fears are confirmed. She finds Freddy's lifeless body, and overcome with grief, she breaks down in tears. Beside him lies his phone, with his final message for Victoria still on it. In the video, Freddy initially expresses relief, believing they are safe as the sun has risen and no one seems affected. But moments later, his tone shifts to agony, and he succumbs to pain and dies. His screams reverberate hauntingly in the bunker, and Arman, struggling to stop the video, eventually smashes the phone in a fit of frustration. Victoria barely has time to mourn Freddy before they have to rush back to the docks. When they arrive, they find the submarine sealed and about to dive. The commander is reluctant to let them in, but the chief insists they be allowed aboard. Once inside, it becomes clear that only the chief is sympathetic towards them. The rest of the crew is hostile. To avoid trouble and stay out of harm's way, they are told to stick to cleaning the bathrooms and keep out of sight. Once they get comfortable, the submarine begins to shake violently. Everyone is scared and confused because they don't understand what's wrong. To make things worse, their main engineer had died back at the bank, so they're without an expert. But then, Arman figures out that the issue is with the submarine's hydraulic system and manages to fix it. The chief is really impressed with Arman's skills and appoints him as the new chief engineer. The commander isn't pleased with this decision, but he doesn't challenge the chief's authority. Later on, while the group is busy cleaning the living area as they were told to, they try to lighten the mood by joking around, even though things are tough. But their fun is cut short when Altan shows up to see what they're doing and starts insulting them. When they stand up for themselves, Altan attacks Benson. Upset by this, Victoria goes to the chief and complains about how they're being treated unfairly, almost like criminals. The chief promises to look after their safety and then sends them back. Back in the living area, Altan and some friends are secretly drinking alcohol. When they notice some of their canned food is missing, a drunk Altan quickly blames Victoria and starts threatening her. Olivia, the operation officer and the chief's daughter, steps in to stop him. But Altan doesn't give up. He stirs up the other soldiers, trying to turn them against Arman's group. He even demands that the chief kick them out of the submarine because that's what most people want. The chief, however, firmly tells Altan to stop making trouble. He's also angry with Altan for drinking, which is against the rules. Plus, soldiers aren't supposed to bring canned food into the living area, so Altan ends up in even more trouble for breaking that rule too. Arman steps up to say sorry and tries to make peace. He tells everyone that they have to work together to stay alive, especially since they might be the last people left on Earth. His smart words make the commander think differently about Arman and his friends, and he begins to trust them. Felix, who is still in the living area, notices a soldier handling a hand grenade in a dangerous way. He gets scared and quickly goes to warn everyone. The chief and the others rush to the living area and see a man holding the grenade with a smile. The man has lost his mind because his family died back home. He believes that everyone on the submarine should die too, so they can be with their families in heaven. The chief tries really hard to talk to him and calm him down, but it doesn't work. As a last option, the chief goes into the room and shuts the door to protect everyone else. Then the grenade explodes, killing both the chief and the soldier. Right after the explosion, the soldiers begin to repair the damage. Most things can be fixed, but there's one big problem: a hole in the floor of the control room. Arman tries hard to cover it, but the water pressure is too strong and keeps pushing the metal away. The only solution is to fix the hole from the outside of the submarine. Olivia, even though she's still very upset about her father's death, offers to help Arman with this task. Arman and Olivia go outside the submarine to the spot where it was hit. Arman starts welding a piece of metal over the hole, and Olivia uses a flashlight to help him see in the dark. Suddenly, a fish attacks Olivia, causing her to drop a necklace that was a special gift from her father. She swims after it, but ends up losing track of the submarine. When Arman realizes Olivia is gone, he goes to find her. They eventually find each other, but have a hard time finding their way back to the submarine. Luckily, the submarine's lights start working again, and they use them to guide themselves back inside. Before they rejoin the group, Arman tells Olivia to keep quiet about their ordeal, so she won't get in trouble. Everyone inside is happy to see them return safely. The hole is now fixed, and the water inside the submarine starts to go down. The next night, they arrive at an army base to get more supplies and learn more about the sun situation. Benson doesn't have any specific job, so he decides to walk up a hill to see the city. When he gets to the top, he sees a huge wildfire spreading through the city. Everything is changing so quickly that Benson feels lost without his family. He becomes so sad and hopeless that he doesn't want to live anymore. At the same time, the commander and the rest of the group enter the base and find their fellow soldiers dead in the emergency room. They notice that these soldiers were trying to come up with a way to escape before they died. The group takes some time to bury all the dead soldiers properly. After that, they search the base to see if there's anything useful they can find and use. Later on, while Alter and Olivia are gathering food, Alter notices that the food doesn't taste like anything. It's like the sunlight took away all the flavor and nutrients. Just as they're about to look into this more, they hear a sound and go outside to see what's causing it. In another part of the army base, Victoria and Benson are searching for medicines and vitamins in the health center. Benson quietly takes a pill and swallows it, hoping to feel better. Meanwhile, back in the submarine, Felix is chatting with Arman about his life before all this happened. He remembers a silver flashlight he misplaced somewhere in the submarine and decides to go to the living area to look for it. Suddenly, Felix spots someone rushing out of the submarine. He knows it should only be him and Arman in that area, so he becomes curious and follows the person. Quickly, other soldiers join in, and the episode ends with them all catching up to and surrounding this mysterious person.